Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of the King of the Jungle podcast. Today we have Gabriel as a guest. Gabriel, give us a little bit of an intro into you.
Well, hi there, guys. I know Kathan from the gym, when I used to train there a lot. And now I don't train there as much, but
Why?
I'm actually into kickboxing and MMA now.
Oh, sick. So you've
yeah.
transitioned from weightlifting to fighting, I should say. And why? What made you make that decision?
Well, I needed to work on my fighting, so it's hard to balance the two. So I'm going to take a little break from lifting for a couple months, then jump back into it.
Oh, so you are going to come back to it. That's
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, good stuff. I forgot my phone. I'm going to get my notes. Viewers, hold on. Tell them to subscribe.
Subscribe, guys.
There we go. That's like it. All right. Okay. I have prepared some variety of questions, mainly gym focused.
Cool.
Because that is the focus on this podcast. But later on gets into some, if we even get there. I don't know if those questions will take up enough time. But there are some controversial, opinionated questions to hop into. But all right, let me get into some of these. So I suppose you don't actually train, you don't weight train at the moment, so that question's relevant on why you would still train. So obviously you know Sam Sulek, right?
Yeah, I do.
What's your opinion on Sam Sulek, and why did he get so popular so quickly?
Sure, that guy has got some charisma here. He knows how to just like be himself in front of a lot of people, which I really like. He's just so funny, man. Like unintentionally so. You always get those kinds of guys in fitness who are they're doing their own thing, you know? But they're kind of just showing everyone else what they're doing, but not to get anywhere specifically, which I really like. Yeah. I can really appreciate that from him. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I personally think that a lot of people that I've, obviously because he blew up so quickly, and my YouTube feed's also a little bit of how to grow on YouTube, and he became a topic, which is very rare for a fitness influencer to become a topic on how to grow on YouTube. But a lot of people were saying that he's like a breath of fresh air. Yeah. In a way that so much content these days is based on like dopamine, you know, like try and do the craziest challenges, and then, you know, like have videos that just have constant sort of action to sort of feed this modern day generation's dopamine requirements. But Sam Sulek is like a relatable sort of breath of fresh air where people can just sit down and sort of relax and watch, and not have to be blasted by constant like stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying here.
Yeah, blasted by not blasters, and like, you know, not the bad blast, but yeah, exactly. Okay, so next one is, what's your opinion on cheat meals and cheat days?
Well, I mean, in my opinion at least, I think it really helps you to actually stay focused in a weird way. Because for a lot of people, I guess it's really hard to just go an all or nothing approach. Because it's only for so long that most people can manage that, at least. So cheat meals, I feel like they don't really hurt your progress significantly, but they also allow you to still enjoy the things that you used to enjoy and not miss them as much, you know? It's like a little reward if you want to play it that way.
And how often would you advise someone who's starting to try and really take control of their diet to have cheat days?
Sure, I mean, it depends on how aggressive your diet is, depends on your goals. But like someone starting, if the diet isn't too crazy, maybe like one day on the weekends, you can have a whole cheat day if you want.
So like one day?
Yeah, a whole cheat day, not just like a cheat meal.
Wouldn't you think that if you add up a whole day, though, depending on the person's kind of how they would cheat, like a whole day could literally, like, if you're on a cut, could literally affect your weekly, because calories more like add up on a weekly basis, and that's sort of what you work off of, like the weekly basis. But like a cheat day, don't you think, like if you're on a 2,400, let's say, on a cut like that, some people go much less, but 2,400. You can easily eat like 3,000 in one day. In fact, I'm bulking and I eat almost 5,000 a day. So, like, if someone was to eat like as much but like unhealthy stuff, because obviously it's a cheat day, like you can easily eat like 2,000 to 3,000 in one meal. So,
Possible, yeah.
like, would you think that a cheat day per week would like really?
Yeah, again, it depends on how intense the diet is. So if it's like a more intense diet, it's more okay to have a cheat day because then it adds up in a more favorable way, I guess. Does that make sense? So let's say you're dieting, that same person's on 2,000 calories a day, like a lot less. Then a cheat day makes more sense, right?
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you.
So it's very much like a depends on the person kind of a thing, which is the most annoying kind of answer to get.
Yeah, no, it is a very annoying answer to get, but it's very true because you get those people that they would take a cheat day and they would take advantage of it.
Yeah.
But if you I would recommend if you're one of those people that take a cheat like day and take advantage of that and just eat like thousands and thousands of calories every hour, I would recommend to do the same, but you have a cheat meal, not a cheat day.
Yeah,
because then if you're that kind of person, then you would have the amount of calories that a lot of people would have like pretty much throughout the day of the cheat day. So it just depends. And obviously just be honest with yourself. Don't like try to be like, oh no, I'm not one of those guys, I'm gonna have a cheat day. And then
yeah, that's definitely
yourself
true.
with calories. Also, just by the way, viewers and you, my notes on my phone, so I'm not like looking at messages or getting distracted or anything. I'm not bored. I've got all my notes right here. Okay, so next question is, what's your best cheat meal?
It's kind of a difficult question for me to answer because I never really did cuts hardcore. I was always the guy that needs to eat a little bit more.
I see. So
I guess a cheat meal in a weird way is just not shoving my stuff in my face. Like that was my cheat meal.
I see.
That was my reward for working hard in the week. Yeah.
Sort of like a cut.
Yeah.
Would be a cheat meal.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's funny. I mean, I can kind of relate because I also, my bulks are really like a lot of calories. My cuts just like most people's maintain.
Yeah.
So
no,
like
you've gone on some crazy bulks, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the same bulk since August last year.
Sure.
Which is it's a long time. Yeah, whatever. Okay, what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your fitness journey?
I guess start small and then kind of take it from there slowly.
I suppose everyone kind of starts small.
Yeah, true. I think a lot of people these days, they watch like a Steve Bum video and they copy all his exercises word for word and they go nuts because they're not growing. It's like, buddy, just go easy just there.
Chill out a bit.
Chill out a little bit. Take it from there. Maybe start with like 2-3 sets for a muscle group at the very start. You'll grow from that if you're a beginner. One hard set you'll probably grow, to be honest.
Yeah, literally.
So like, go easy, guys. Like,
just chill out a bit. As a beginner is very... Obviously, the first few like weeks, you're probably not going to see anything. But like, once you hit that growth period of like a couple months, it's actually crazy. And newbie gains come in clutch. I must say, you have a beautiful podcast voice, bro. I swear your voice was just made to be on a podcast.
Thanks, man. My girlfriend told me beforehand, actually.
Really?
Yeah, these guys are going to enjoy this.
Oh, wait. Oh,
she's so cute, man.
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. So... Oh, here's a sort of on topic of fitness. What's your opinion on veganism?
Oh, no, bro, please. Please, no.
I just had to chuck a spicy one.
I'll say this. It's probably a controversial answer for some people, at least. A carnivore diet is probably better for you, health-wise, than a vegan diet. Because we learnt about this in life sciences, actually. If you go on a full vegan diet with no supplements whatsoever, like I think it's B12 specifically and a couple of other vitamins and minerals, you'll probably die. Like no joke.
Yeah.
So on a carnivore diet, the nice part about meat is, from my understanding at least, whatever the meat itself is eaten, like let's say it's a deer or something, it's eaten some nice vegetables and stuff. The vegetables have sucked up all the minerals from the ground, and the deer gets the minerals and the vitamins from that vegetable.
Not the other way around.
Exactly. And then you can take some of those vitamins and minerals from the meat from the deer, I'd say. So it's actually a lot more doable.
It is, yeah.
And it also doesn't spike your blood sugar levels and glucose and all that kind of stuff. It's anyways, it's quite a long.
I mean, yeah, that's
thing.
a very valid point. That's going to make a good clip. Thanks for that. I mean, I was going to comment on something that you said a little bit. I just kind of lost track of what I was going to say. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, eating all meat is better than eating no animal products at all. And also, to build off of that, to ask another question, vegetarianism, is that a big word? Vegetarianism? I think it is, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
What would your differentiating opinion be?
Oh, that's a lot better, actually. It's not optimal by any stretch of the imagination, but since in vegetarianism, usually most people will drink milk and have honey. And milk, like, yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. Hey, if you look on the back of the milk and you look at all the minerals and the vitamins you get from that, that's exactly what vegans need, actually.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
And depends on how ethically it's sourced and how ethically minded the vegetarians are. Yeah, could be very, very viable for them. Definitely a good choice.
So do you think the majority of vegetarians do it for ethical reasons or for nutritional reasons?
Most people that I've seen are more ethical kind of a thing, because I think a lot of people know that cutting out big food groups it's probably not the best idea, especially when that food group is widely considered healthy and it's like the main part of most meals. Yeah.
And your take on it? Like, would you agree, or do you just not care? I mean, I personally, I don't really care, because because animals don't have emotions, like, so. I mean, I don't know how much deeper to go into this, but like, I just think it's not like animals have a soul. They're just sort of beings. So like, it's not like they. Gotta be careful what I'm saying now. I got a camera on me. No, I'm just kidding. But like, I mean, what's your opinion?
I definitely think you're onto something. I haven't quite developed my own thought about it entirely, so it's kind of difficult for me to say. What I will say, though, is that if you eat meat, try and have it in an ethical way, I guess. Like, there's no use creating more suffering in the world. There's plenty of that. But otherwise, if it's an ethical kind of meat, like, go for it, guys. That's my kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I get you. So would you say, like, what kind of meats would you say are ethical and unethical?
I wouldn't say one type of meat is more ethical than the other. It's more about how the meat is produced.
I see.
So let's say chicken and beef, for example. If you put both of them in small cages, the chicken and the cow, in a small cage, whatever, it's like a horrible living environment for them. Then it's both like unethical meat, I guess.
I see.
So to me, it's like, as long as the animal lives in a kind of free lifestyle.
So it's not the type of meat, it's how it's like
definitely
produced.
Yeah, how the animal lives and how it's killed.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting. Next question. Like the video if you haven't yet. You've been listening for a little bit, so it's clearly worth it. To what level do you think supplements are necessary? And on that point, also beneficial.
Supplements as in creatine, vitamins, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, creatine, vitamins, protein powder,
Okay.
anything you can think of.
Okay. I would group protein powder in a bit of a different group because it's part of food, so it very much depends on your diet.
It's true. It's kind of like a mix of food and supplement.
It's very
tricky one.
Yeah, it's a more convenient way of eating food. That's how I think of it. But supplements in general, sure, guys, don't bother about it too much until you're reasonably advanced, because it's not going to give you that much more than just focusing hard on your training and your diet and your sleep. I think the big three for me are like training, diet, sleep. You've got to focus on all of them, because if you screw one of them up, it's not going to be good. Like if you are not training as hard as you should be, but your sleep and your diet are good, you're going to get kind of mediocre results. Or if your training's, poorly planned out. And the same with like diet. If you're not eating enough, you're not really going to grow, are you? For the most part, at least. And sleep, that's a massive one. Can't really grow unless you're actually sleeping, after all.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my take on it is, obviously, I haven't done much like research on all like the fish oils and all that kind of stuff. That's like very like niche, and I haven't touched into that. But like, I would say, like protein powder, for the viewers here, I would say protein powder is. I've recently stopped having protein powder because you can get the same amount of protein with something healthy, and like it's not like protein is a rare sort of source. It's you can get it in like pretty much anything. So it's obviously you can get much more with like if you just get some chicken or mince or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and there's like especially a lot of the whey proteins have a lot of unhealthy sort of random crap that just like ups the calories. Like those mass gainers, dude. Yeah, the mass gainers have a lot of mass gainers are a big mistake. Everyone who's very experienced in the gym would know that mass gainers are quite an unhealthy choice. Rather get I don't know, like literally pretty much anything but mass gainers, because they have just look at the ingredients list, guys, and then try and identify everything and try and be able to read everything, and then that'll kind of answer your question. But like, also like when you get to a later stage, creatine is a must in my books. Yeah, you're right. Because there is absolutely no side effects, and there's clearly benefits, and there's creatine it's like one of the most researched supplements that's out there, especially monohydrate. And it's just like, I mean, since I started taking it, I've gotten benefits, and I've gotten absolutely no like repercussions for taking it.
Yeah, that's very true. I think there's like a point where it makes more sense to take supplements. Like if you get a beginner in the gym, you're not going to just hand them a tub of creatine and some whey protein. It's like you let them get going, you get their training diet and sleep on track, then you start adding in the icing on the cake, Yeah,
for sure. Creatine is definitely a sort of icing on the cake that gives you a big advantage when you're later in the stage of, I would say when you're consistent with going to the gym, because obviously if you start taking creatine as soon as you start, then there's a chance you might stop because you don't like training or whatever, or it's too much of a mission for you, and then that's just a waste of money. But otherwise, like, I think money is the only reason like maybe you shouldn't get creatine. Like if you really flat broke and you're struggling to afford creatine, then don't take it. It's not like you have to take it, but like if you can afford it, then just take it, because it's like, I mean, also just outside of bodybuilding, because the way creatine works is it creates ATP molecules in your muscles, and basically these molecules provide short-term explosive strength. And so obviously in a bodybuilding context, that is very optimal, because hypertrophy, you want to have short-term explosive exercises, and because ATP fuels that and creatine fuels you with more ATPs, you can push heavier weights for a longer amount of time. And so obviously with that being said, because it creates the explosive short-term molecules, it helps with more than just muscle building. People use it for sprinting, people use it for any any exercise that's not long distance or endurance related.
Even medium distance, it's quite applicable still.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think there's 3 different molecules. There's the ADP and there's 2 others. I think there's something else for the medium and then something else for the longer that I haven't done research on because I don't really care because I don't do long.
Fair. Very fair.
But I mean, yeah, I've done so much research on creatine and like it's literally just good for you. There's nothing bad for you about it. Yeah. I mean, also there's obviously other supplements out there, like what's your opinion on like test boosting, like not like steroids, but like
the test boosters,
like the ashwagandha, the tribulus terrestris, the plant extracts?
Sure. I know for a fact that a lot of big companies will try and make money off you in any way that they can. So whether this means that the test boosters you find like in your gym or places are fake, how much they work, that kind of stuff, not entirely sure on, but sure, if it worked properly, it would be banned in competitions, in drug tested competitions for the most part, unless it's something that's like a 1 in a million kind of a thing. So the things that do work, they probably don't work that much. Whether that's worth it for you is your choice, I guess. But sure, I don't know about that kind of stuff. It's not really my kind of thing.
I see. So I've done a lot of research on both ashwagandha and tribulus terrestris. And what I've discovered about these test boosters is they're actually quite literally the opposite of steroids, but they give you a small effect that steroids will give you.
Correct.
And that being said, the way it works is basically when you take ashwagandha or tribulus terrestris in these pill forms, it'll basically be like a little bit of extractive plant in a pill. And when I say pill, it makes it sound so much worse. Anyway, but when you digest it, your body sends a signal to your brain, which then sends a signal back to your body to start producing more of your primary hormone, which would either be testosterone or estrogen, depending on if you're male or female, obviously. So obviously it gives you the opposite effect of steroids, which is like, the problem with steroids is obviously your body stopping to produce testosterone because it's already getting testosterone. So having these supplements, which is quite literally doing the opposite and strengthening your testosterone production, would that change your point of view?
Oh, sure. I haven't thought about that actually. Sounds like an interesting point. For me, it's like I'd rather optimize other things in my body to produce natural testosterone. So stuff like eating a lot of healthy fats and getting your sleep in, like not going straight on your phone in the morning, getting some sunlight, having some competition especially is actually one I found for myself at least makes me feel a lot better. There's a lot of research on competition and testosterone that I've seen.
Wow, that's interesting.
So it's, from what I understand at least, it's more like a competition in general kind of a thing. So if, let's say with you see a guy that's in your gym and he's pretty big, like similarly big to you, and it's kind of getting in your head that, ooh, who's bigger kind of a thing. You start competing with your workouts. That's like true. Pretty clearly, then you'll actually get a testosterone boost.
No, that is actually a very good point, because there is someone at the gym who's like almost exactly the same level as me, like just a bit bigger, and we train together sometimes. We're good friends. And then we'll have this, whenever we train, we'll be like, okay, let's see who can get more reps in this weight.
Correct. And you're stronger at that point, a little bit.
Literally, bro, like we were doing, what was it? It was something really random. It was laying face pulls. And like he puts it on the 40. I'm like, the 40? Because like I usually, it's not something I think of doing like at a heavy weight. And he puts it at 40 kg. So I'm like, okay, I got to try this now. And I did it. And then we ended up going up to like 50. Just like trying to beat each other's PRs and stuff, which is it's just a very healthy way of training. I advise you guys to find someone a similar level to you that you find some competition with, and just make sure it's friendly competition.
I would say that for beginners, probably don't do it because you guys don't have the form down yet.
Oh yeah.
So you'll probably
No,
go
that's
a
true.
little bit too far. But if you're like intermediate advanced and you're not silly about it, yeah, go for it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it has definitely helped me a lot in training. Like even just like, because if it wasn't for him, I also would not be doing some exercises that I've been doing now because of like the workouts we've been doing together. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
"Oh,
learn
yeah,
new
let
things.
me put some of that in my workout. Like the obvious stuff. Like I never used to do dumbbell overhead press. Like I just never used to do it because I used to hate it because I just felt like I could never make the weight sturdy or whatever. Then he was doing it. I was like, you know what? I might as well just start doing it because I got to get used to some of this free weight stuff.
Mm.
And then, I mean, I started doing that and dumbbell chest press. And I mean, I'm starting to, it feels really good actually implementing it into my workouts. So, yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff, my bro. Okay. HIIT or steady state cardio?
For strict bodybuilding purposes, or
For,
because the answer very much does change.
oh, yeah. No, you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for bodybuilding.
For bodybuilding. Okay. I'll talk about that first. Definitely steady state. Like quite clearly.
Okay.
Because if you can go through steady state cardio, there's less of a chance of you feeling sore the next day or taking away performance. Especially if it's like you're training the next day kind of a thing. So let's say for your steady state cardio, you do some running on the treadmill, for example. You got leg day the next day. And now if you've taken a nice long cardio session, you'll feel pretty good the next day. But if it's HIIT, sure, your glutes might be a little bit fired, your lower back, there's more of a chance of feeling stiff because it works slightly differently. Because you're using your body in like an explosive way for the most part in HIIT compared to like a more endurance way of steady state cardio. But for fighters or any other sport where you need to be slightly explosive, HIIT's definitely the way to go for most people in most applications.
Would it change your opinion if I told you there's lots of, I don't know if you know about all the research done between HIIT and steady state, but when you do steady state cardio, you burn calories while you do the cardio. When you do HIIT workouts, you tend to burn a lot of calories while you sleep the night after you do all the cardio throughout the whole night, which tends to lead to, obviously you burn calories while you do it, but the calorie burning continues into your rest afterwards to recover.
Yeah, I have heard that as well, actually. I don't think my answer would change because it's like there's a reason that you burn calories after, because your body's like so tired from it, because it's such a traumatic influence on the body. It is. I mean, it's very good for its applications, but for bodybuilding, I wouldn't say so. Hey? Even if you can get a little bit more calories out of HIIT, I think steady state is probably the way to go. Then maybe fix your diet slightly if you need more of a calorie deficit kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's now that you say that, that's actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't see any of like the Mr. Olympia level bodybuilders actually ever doing like HIIT. You'll see them walking on the treadmill for like an hour or two.
Yeah, it takes too much away from their recovery and their general energy for the day. If you like doing a little bit of steady state for, let's say you're doing 40 minutes in the treadmill, you're really fine after that. You just kind of warm, you'll be slightly tired, but after HIIT, like 15 minutes of HIIT, for like at least part of the day, you're kind of a bit useless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another point I want to add on to why you shouldn't do HIIT, to back your point, is when you do HIIT, obviously you use so much energy that especially if you plan to do it like the day before or during the day, you subconsciously know you're going to do a lot of exercise. So what you do is you fidget less and you burn less calories with the slight things like rocking your leg like this, or like twitching or fiddling with your hands, especially after you do HIIT, because you get so exhausted. Your body's like, okay, I just got to recover. So what you do is you'll find that you just don't move anything. Like you don't tap your fingers on the desk, you don't move your leg, you don't bob your head to music as much. You sort of just like
exist,
flop there.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it would also maybe I don't know what level of calorie loss that would be, or calorie burning loss that would be, but I suppose it would pretty much cancel out. But I mean, it depends, because it's not like you burn much calories like doing this or whatever. But if you think about it, you often do small little things like that throughout the whole day, which adds up to a lot. So doing HIIT might even out.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a number into the equation, let's say, of your calorie deficit or your diet plans. It kind of needs to be considered, you know?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it's nearly as big as anything else. It's probably like a little cherry on top. But I didn't know that, actually. That's an interesting thing I've learned today.
I'm glad I can teach you something new, and I'm glad I can teach you guys something new, hopefully, if you've learned something from this podcast today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite thing is so far. And let's get on to the next question, which is, this is a very interesting one. Very interesting. What's your opinion on approaching women at the gym? And should you avoid it, or was it fine to do?
Should you avoid it? I would say if you're not the best looking guy, the chances of you being called a creep are a little bit higher. So, you know, guys, like, know how women react to you and do it in a respectful way, obviously. I'd say it's okay. Like, if you don't make people uncomfortable and you genuinely kind of just getting to know people, then yeah, it's very much okay for me. I've met a lot of friends, one or two past relationships actually from the gym, from gyms in general. So I think it's very fair to do.
I see.
But it's obviously, be careful, guys.
Yeah, be very careful.
You don't want to end up in one of those clips, eh?
Exactly, you don't. Especially when you see a camera around, where you stay like at least 10 meters away if you see a camera around, and you don't look in the direction as well. You don't want to be caught like that. But I feel like that doesn't happen as much here as it does like in the Western places.
Sure, I laugh at those, bro.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous, eh?
And people like are genuinely upset about this kind of a thing. Like, if a girl walks past and you look in their direction, you go like that. People get upset by that. I look the same way if anyone walks past. Like, that's kind of just something in my peripheral vision, kind of a thing.
It's like you want to know who you're surrounded by.
It's not even that. It's like your brain. It's its natural evolutionary thing to do. You just
it's like
look
a protective
at
instinct.
a movement.
Like,
yeah,
it's like a movement. Is something attacking me? No, it's not.
It's like so you don't get like pounced on by like a leopard in the felt or something. Right? It's like
we're
just a little rustle down here.
Gotta keep a lookout for those leopards, guys. To watch out for those leopards. Oh, that's hilarious. I was gonna add a point onto you. The question was approaching women. Also, when you were saying it depends on like if you like how you look, obviously.
Unfortunately.
I mean, unfortunately, it does play a big role, but like if you talk right, then I feel like that changes things. And there's actually a quote from Alex Hormozy. Do you know Alex Hormozy?
Yes, I do.
A quote by Alex Hormozy. Oh no, sorry, he quoted someone else, but it was, this actually cracked me up. Women fall in love with what they hear, and men fall in love with what they see. That's why women wear makeup and men lie.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. That's entirely true. Entirely. Like, we're a lot more shallow than we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
But hey, it's part of us, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, with that being said, as long as you be careful with your words and what you say, and you don't pressurize them, then go ahead. Like, do it. You know what I'm saying? But also, at the same time, don't be the creep who'll go, like, up to every single person. Like there'll be, like, a day where there's, like, 5 girls in the bed. Like, that one. Because then, like, word's going to spread and they're going to kick you out of the gym soon.
Yeah, like, be respectful about it. It's kind of like the main takeaway for this.
Yeah. Do you think, this actually would be a very good question for you since you have transitioned into more, like, fighting sports. Do you think bodybuilders are good fighters? That's
probably one of the hardest questions I can even think of answering. Do you think bodybuilders could be good fighters? So the way I'm thinking of this question is like a bodybuilder as a professional bodybuilder, would they be good against a fighter? Or at least a better fighter than the average person in a significant way, kind of a thing.
Well, I don't want to take like the extremes, like Derek Lunsford versus...
No, take the
like,
extremes. Take it.
Okay. I mean, well, actually, yeah, I'll give you an opinion on both. Like the extremes where like the top in the world from both sides, and then like the sort of the average bodybuilder and the average sort of like fighter. Whether that would be... Obviously, it differs between sports. Like obviously wrestling it'll make a difference because of like size and everything, but like boxing and like, I mean, I don't know, give your opinion.
One thing I will say is the most advantageous situation for a fighter would be boxing, and the most advantageous situation for the bodybuilder would be wrestling, if you take that. So let's say MMA is somewhere in between, kind of depending on the fighter's styles and the weight class. It gets very complicated. But on the end of boxing, a significantly smaller fighter will be able to destroy the bodybuilder. Like, it's not going to be even slightly close.
Is that so?
Yeah, entirely. I'm not the most experienced fighter, but in sparring, I just steamroll dudes who are way bigger than me. Way bigger. Like,
sure.
Like, they could bench, like, probably twice as much as me if they felt like it. These dudes are like 110, 120 kilos.
Wow.
And in sparring, they can't do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they don't know how to use their strength. They don't have movement.
Yeah, that's true.
They don't understand even how to guard themselves from damage, kind of a thing.
But they'll be able to take more damage. What do you think?
Not significantly.
Well, not significantly, yeah.
So there is a difference in weight classes, and there's like a certain like cut-off point.
I see.
So a very small dude who's a good fighter, he can't take a massive amount of damage because he doesn't have like the neck musculature and the head size to kind of defend himself from damage, like just a pure, like an open shot kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But to a certain point, once you get like past the decently big dudes that are like 80, 90 kilos, you're not going to be significantly harder to knock out, I don't think. Unless you're on like a ton of steroids or there's some like performance enhancing drugs in there.
I see.
And even then it's like kind of just like a luck kind of a thing. Not specific to any training that you can do. It's very much on the person. But in general, are bodybuilders good fighters? No, like they're really, really atrocious fighters. They're probably, this is probably one of the worst things you can do to get better at fighting. Strictly bodybuilding.
That's true.
Because it doesn't give you like the explosiveness of, let's say, like a CrossFit people. They're very, very explosive and quite endurance as well. It's actually very good for fighters. You'll find fighters actually train in that way for like conditioning and to gain a little bit of size to make it more like applicable. But bodybuilding itself, like the aim is to get super big and not necessarily that strong, not necessarily that flexible, not necessarily that fast, and not necessarily that coordinated. And those are like the four things you kind of need to be a good fighter.
And nimble.
Yeah, like mobility.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. So in general, no, bodybuilders are not good fighters.
I see. Yeah, no, I get you on that. Yeah, that was a cool breakdown. I enjoyed hearing that from someone who's a fighter himself. Yes, dude, I cracked my phone on the gym today. I put it on the treadmill and I just saw this fat crack just across my camera here. So now half my camera's blurry. That happens for those of you who are going to go to gym. Just be aware that you're going to need to replace your screen cover like 3 times as often once you start going to the gym, because like for those who don't know what you do, right, when you're using a machine, you're like, okay, let me tell people I'm using this, so I'm going to put my phone on the floor.
You drop it.
And you drop it like that. So obviously that was quite harsh, but gym floor was a little bit more padded or whatever. So stuff like that happens, and you chuck it and then it just happens to sort of land on a corner, or you put it on the floor, someone rolls the dumbbell So,
Or they step on it.
or they step on it.
Yeah.
Have you had people step on your phone before? Ouch.
Yeah. It's always like, I hate to say it, but it's always a girl. And it's always someone I can't be angry at. Like it's often like one of the younger girls who don't know what they're doing. They're kind of scared. They're already like on edge from this place and they're not looking where they're going. They step on your phone. You're like, oh, okay. If it was some dude, I'd be like, bro, come, what you doing here?
It's like, hey, you owe me $200 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think social media is more harmful or beneficial for fitness?
For fitness specifically.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's more beneficial. Probably neutral to more harmful, somewhere in there, depending on what you do on there and depending on what social media you consume, kind of a thing.
That's another factor of how it really differs from person to person. Because if you have sort of the discipline in the area of YouTube feed, it can be extremely good and extremely healthy. But like, again, it can get really bad really quickly. I've had stages in the past where it's just like a whole bunch of random, like no one cares, like people approaching women in the streets, everything from that to like gaming videos and everything useless. I'm not saying gaming videos are bad. I'm just saying it's not a good use of time. But like I've gone from there to now more like a lot of my YouTube feed is like just like worship videos, fitness educational videos, and then like sermons, people just preaching the word of God. I enjoy listening to that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. As someone who makes an effort to try and only consume those kinds of things, you often find the algorithm trying to sneak in the other kind of stuff, which it's really interesting to see how that works. So like the algorithm is programmed on most social medias to sneak on the pretty girls, the pranks, the stuff that people watch over and over and get addicted to, that kind of a thing. Because that's how they know they get people addicted to social media, and that's how they make their money eventually. So even if you keep ignoring this kind of stuff, saying not interested, don't show me this channel, whatever, it will still come up because the algorithm knows at some point you'll probably crack for at least a little bit, and it will make some money, which is really sad.
It's so sad.
Yeah.
You get like, because it's so unfair and like all the creators, because now there's an advantage to, and like a really simple advantage to just like you were saying, like just put a pretty girl on the camera that doesn't wear much, and then there you go, there's a million views. It's so sad because like you get people out like like me out here, it's just like putting his effort into putting all these podcasts, trying to provide you guys value, and here these people not even making their own sort of content, just sort of making
we always get what we deserve in the end, you know?
That's true. That is very true.
If we don't get it now, we'll get it in the next life. Well, or in heaven, I guess. That's probably the better way to phrase it.
Your treasures in heaven are earned by your works on earth.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I love how we just said that perfectly in sync. And to ask the second version of that is social media more harmful or beneficial for society in general?
In general, like definitely more harmful. Like it's not even close kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If you like in school, you look at all the people just chilling on their phones, scrolling endlessly through Instagram or messaging random people or just wasting their time away kind of a thing. It's the most incredible use of like waste of time actually. You're using it in a way that it's completely non-productive. Completely. Like what do you gain from that? You probably don't learn a single thing in the whole day. You don't remember a single thing that you've looked at even. And that's the craziest, scariest thing. Like if you spend an hour, let's say, which isn't even a lot to most people, scrolling through Instagram.
Average is like 6 hours, I think, on TikTok or whatever. a day.
Yeah.
That's literally, there's 24 hours in the day. That's a fourth of your day.
It's a lot.
It's so sad.
Sure, that is absolutely crazy. It's like if you spend even a little bit of time on there, you can't remember anything. Someone asks you, what's the first and last thing you saw? You probably won't know. What's one thing you remember? You'll probably remember like a small portion of it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the craziest thing to me.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy where this has all gone. Especially when you don't actively put a lot of effort into curating your feed.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I will say, sorry, bro.
It takes a lot of curating to actually get it to the point where it's actually like good. Like I have to, like every single day I still put effort into not clicking on things that seem clickable.
Yep, absolutely.
Like even if it's not that bad, because then that is a gateway that leads to everything else that just kind of feeds and that just destroys your feed. So it takes a lot of effort, but I promise you guys it's so worth it. For I've been doing it for a couple months now, and like I don't feel bad if I go onto YouTube or Instagram anymore, because I know when I'll watch stuff like on Instagram, for an example, like Instagram Reels, I'll just get a lot of podcasts from like either like fitness influencers, like giving advice about fitness, or a lot of like business related stuff. And then I go on YouTube, it's a lot of religious stuff. So it's good, but it takes a while to create it, and it is very difficult, which is the sad thing. But sorry, you were gonna.
I mean, also you have to keep fighting it, because the algorithm's never going to stop. It's going to relax a bit, but every once in a while, even you've created your content stream that you receive in a very specific way, but you'll still see like the occasional beautiful girl that's is just doing nothing worthwhile in there, or you'll see some dumb video of some dude starting stuff on the internet. Sure. Do you know who Bradley Martin is?
Oh yeah.
You know what he's been trying to do with fighters? He's been, this is like the short version for you guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys watching will know exactly how this goes down if you're in any of these kinds of fitness, bodybuilding, fighting streams. He keeps saying that he can destroy any fighter in the...
Oh yeah, I'm aware of this now.
Because he's 260 and the fighter's smaller than him. Like, and he needs...
Does have experience though, like a little bit, in street fighting.
It's so little that for the most part, from most weight classes, he's getting steamrolled. Like, not even close kind of steamrolled. I remember seeing a video of him wrestling a dude, and the dude's like 170 pounds, which is like 70 kilos, something like that. It's like slightly smaller than me. And I'm like, I'm not a massive dude by any instance. But this dude's got like pretty good wrestling. He's not anything crazy. He's not like a national champion. And he just steamrolls Bradley Martin, like easily.
That's funny.
It's kind of reality checks like this which people need.
Yeah, that's 100% truth right there. Yeah, it's crazy how people these days, they just put a camera in front of their face and they know they've got like millions of people that are going to reach it, and they make the most absurd sort of accusations. And then refuse to back them, and like it's still like it's like, bruh,
it's just to start something so that they get more clicks and more views.
Exactly,
because they know they're not going to get any repercussions from it. It's like the dudes, like, what's his name, Jake and Logan Paul, the Paul brothers, they're always starting something, even though like no one knows what the outcome is really for them besides money. There's nothing they could want really.
Yeah, dude, Paul whoops, that's his surname, whoops. Logan. Logan drives me insane. Not because like I mean I don't like to like hate on people, so I'm not hating on him, but like he is so, I've noticed like I've seen like a lot of clips, and every single time someone brings up religion, he will just like completely trash it. Yeah, sure. Like someone will say like, you know, like, I really thank God for what he's done in my life, and then he'll be like, why? Or like he'll just like question everything, like, and he'll target them and like mash them down for literally just slightly hinting at the fact that they appreciate like a god in their life that is helping them.
Yeah.
And like it's and the amount of drama as well, and like him starting some cryptocurrency just to get money from people and never pay them back.
Sure. The one thing I think of when I see these kinds of clips of him trashing religion, it's like, how insecure must you be to make an active effort to trash something that people believe in? Like, realistically, if you think of it from a logical perspective, what does he gain from that besides people who are religious going, I'm not feeling safe in my religion anymore? Like, that's his end goal, is to try and make people like him, to take away something that people love, kind of a thing.
That's true. Like there's a saying that a lot of people at the lower levels, when you're at a low level, you either try and reach the high level or bring other people down to your level.
Correct.
And he's definitely trying to throw that fishing line. Come down here.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Which is really sad. I mean,
it is actually. It is really sad.
I mean, Jake, I'm kind of a fan of Jake, to be honest. Jake's a lot better. But
for the most part, yeah.
But like Logan, like he's completely wrecked. Like the whole situation with George Janko on his podcast, because George Janko was a co-host of the Impulsive.
Yes, yeah.
And then like he just left because he was so trashed on for being a Christian. And then like even like Logan's relationship with Jake, like it's gone down because he's so much like you know, like he gets so upset about the most random things and then like creates so much drama by blurring out his brother's brand promotion, you know. That was something that happened the one time. I don't know why I end up seeing the stuff, but again, it's uncurated content that somehow squeezes its way into my feed.
Correct. You don't even notice it for the most part because it's just
a little bit.
Just a little bit, you know, not in a sense that you go, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this? You're like, okay, yeah, I'll just scroll past it. You watch the clip maybe, and then just like that, they
Just
sneak
like
their
that?
foot in.
And then they try again, but they add one more, you know, so add one more.
Correct.
And then 20%, 30%, 40%, 60%, jump to 50. What's your opinion? Oh, wait, actually first, before I get into more generalized, less fitness-based questions, is, do you watch Chris Bumstead? Do you think he'll retire soon, or how many more Mr. Olympias do you think he'll win?
For me, who doesn't really actually follow much professional bodybuilding stuff, of course, I still know Chris Bumstead. Like, dude's
Obviously.
awesome. He seems like a really, I don't know how genuine people are in real life, but seems like a genuine guy, at least across social media. How many more is he going to win? Or as many as he feels like it, to be honest. Like, if he wants to go on for many more years, he can, from what I understand. Because it doesn't seem to be that close to his competitors. Seems to have such a work ethic and such natural talent, such belief in himself and such support, such experience. It's kind of like, yeah, okay, guys, you win when he stops deciding to win, kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because my answer for this is if he wanted to continue, he would win for at least another 5 years in a row.
Yeah, definitely
that's
good.
what I
Very
think.
believable.
Like 5, maybe 6. Like, and maybe if he pushes really hard, like even like up to 7, 8 years. But like, again, that's pushing it a bit because he'll get quite old by then. But I mean, yeah, that guy's got a lot of. He's way ahead of everyone else. Like everyone's competing for second. They've just given up competing for first ready. Except for like on the podcast and everything, they'll be like, "Oh, I've beaten Chris Bumstead once. I'll beat him again." But like, in reality, he's so far ahead they can't really. Like they even had the weight height ratio bumped a little bit to give the others an advantage, but Chris still like absolutely trashed everyone because he was
correct.
Well, not trashed, sorry, I should say mogged. Because he's just so far ahead of everyone else. He's just like proven, even though they create rules that give him less of an advantage, he'll still come out on top very easily. It's just crazy. Okay, so this is an interesting one. what's your opinion on AI and where do you think it's going?
I think it definitely has some proper uses, some real advantages to using it for certain people and certain.
Yeah, for me too. Guys, the amount of thumbnails, like the clips you see from these podcasts that'll have like me and then like a picture of something that I'm talking about, that picture is 80% chance that's been AI generated.
Sure. See, exactly, like the kinds of things that people wouldn't even think of.
Yeah.
Like, especially for content creators like you, it's very, very useful.
So helpful. Goodness me.
But for students like me, I mean, I'm working in UCT kind of a thing, and I have to read a lot of philosophical texts. And those things, if you've ever been into that kind of stuff, it's really hard to understand at first.
Yeah, I gave up when I was in like grade 10.
So yeah, university level text is really, it's hard to wrap your head around without a little bit of digging, at least, into certain things. So stuff like ChatGPT is really useful to me. So I can summarize a little bit of my stuff. I ask it to explain this. They're not entirely happy with the explanation, so I ask it to explain this part of the explanation. And you can't exactly search that up on Google, can you?
I mean, you can, but it doesn't give, like, it doesn't...
As personalized.
Google's not like it's not like a conversation. It's kind of like if something on a website that has a text that says that matches what you ask for, then it'll give it. But like, it's not like it's not like a, it's not a conversation really.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I use it for. But sure, AI could be potentially dangerous from what I understand from it. Also, do think that people kind of live under a rock in most of these kinds of things. They go, yeah, all these kinds of things, they're great. They make my life easier. It's like, what could happen? Like, okay, guys.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens then.
Let's see what happens. I mean, realistically, we can't really do anything about it, so...
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's the tough thing, though, because, like, I mean, yes, we should care, but should we care because we can't do anything about it?
It's like, do you want to know the truth, even if the truth will hurt you, kind of a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Big questions. Hey? I don't even have an answer to that, to be honest.
That's a deep question, eh? Yeah, and I mean, I must say, like, at least 2 or 3 of the questions on here I've generated from ChatGPT as well.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very helpful in a lot of ways. But do you think? What was? I thought I remember that question. Apologies. Me forgetting my questions. There's another one. Adding on to that. Oh, do you think AI will ever surpass human intelligence?
Yeah, the way it's going, like, pretty obviously, yes. It's not going to be close after a while if it goes like this. But whether or not that will be a bad thing, we'll have to see, kind of a thing. How controlled can we keep AI?
That's a tricky one.
Kind of a thing.
How controlled can we keep it?
So, yeah, it definitely will. Like, definitely.
Do you think so?
For the most part, general intelligence, yes. But certain things like understanding morality and religious kinds of things, I doubt it, because that's such a human thing, not an intelligence kind of a thing. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see. Huh?
Yeah, you know what? It's because all the reason I sort of think, I mean, the reason I think it won't is because humans created AI, and in order for it to get what it needs to process, is we need to tell it. It needs to get its information from somewhere. And it's not just going to suck it out of thin air. It needs someone to tell it this information so that it can have it in its books for when it needs it.
But if it has enough information to consistently predict what information is going to be generated, would that change it?
But again, AI doesn't have a mind. It generates things based on what it has. It's not like it's
Yeah.
us humans can't create like life forms. We can't create intelligent beings. It's impossible for us to do. We're not God. We can't create like things with a brain that can think about things and hypothesize things. All we can do, because if you think about it, if you search on ChatGPT and it gives you a really good answer, that's because it's scanned what you said and it's searched its entire database and it's found something that matches. And so we have to create that database in order for it to actually give its answers. So that database isn't going to create itself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to think about this a little bit more, but I'm sure there's a way it can weasel its way through it, knowing how intelligent AI can be, at least so far.
Yeah, there's interesting discussions here. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Man, this cracked screen is really bothering me. It's like a really white crack just in the front of my camera. The half my selfie mode is just blurred. Goodness gracious me. Oh, interesting one. What's your opinion on Andrew Tate?
It's kind of a hard question to answer in a weird way. As with most things, it's not entirely positive or negative. Like
I mean, with everything, to be honest. Like, sorry, I'm just going to go a little tangent.
Go for it, bro.
We'll get back to you on that one. But it's weird with Andrew Tate, why there's like we've almost created like a whole different like way of talking when it comes to just Andrew, because it wouldn't make sense to be like, okay, what's your opinion on Gabriel?
Like,
you see what I mean? That doesn't make sense as a question.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound grammatically correct. But for some reason, when you say, what's your opinion on Andrew Tate? It sounds very grammatically correct. And you can say whatever you want and it's fine. But like, it's so like weird that they've almost set Andrew aside as someone who's not human. And it's kind of like, it's like, what's your opinion on skating? You know, I just say that because I saw my skateboard there. Like, what's your opinion on skating? And it's a sport. Like, you can say, oh, I don't like skating because I'm not good at it or whatever. But like, there's somehow like it sort of taken the sort of grammar of and the understanding of like things, and they've put it into a person, and now they can sort of, you know, do whatever they want and say whatever they want. But like every other human, there's things we can't agree on absolutely everything. Like, I can't agree with you on absolutely everything.
It would be weird
like,
if you did. Yeah.
There'll be disagreements, like, undoubtedly, because we're human. We're all unique. And so, and the problem with a lot of people in the society is, do you like Andrew Tate? Yes. Oh, do you agree with 100% with what he says?
Yeah.
What about this? I'm like, I don't like that he says. Oh, so you don't like him? No, I do like him. I just don't like what he says there. And it just doesn't make logical sense to them. But if I say, if I say I like you, no, but I disagree with the way you do bicycles. Like, people can logically figure that out. It's so weird. They completely disregard him as like a normal sort of person to talk about. They just kind of, it's so weird. But continue.
I think it's also, to add on to your point, it's kind of because he's kind of a polarizing person in many of his views. People get upset when you agree with some of the things because they assume that you agree with all.
Yeah.
Because people have this weird obsession with putting people into one box. Like with Andrew Tate, like misogynist that hates women. It's like, not quite. Like, I'm sure there's a little bit more. Yeah, it's a businessman. Sure, perhaps he doesn't have the best views at times or doesn't express it the best. But for the most part, generally, probably a good influence rather than bad, especially on young boys.
Yeah.
It also depends on the person that consumes the content. So if they take mostly the negative stuff that he says and then take that to heart, then it's not a good influence. But in some sense, the same person can be a good or bad influence depending on the person and how they take it.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense, though, why like, the girls would hate him. Because, Like he's more of a male motivating figure, and so he knows how
talks to guys.
He knows how to motivate men, and that's by telling them this: you're in a bad situation, you suck, you need to get better, and that works with men. And girls don't understand that, so they think he's just a terrible person, you know.
That's an interesting thought, actually.
They think he genuinely means that everyone sucks, but he doesn't genuinely mean that. He uses that to motivate us. And so, I mean, a lot of times he says, like even on the George Janko podcast, that was a very entertaining one, by the way. You guys should listen to that. But the George Janko podcast, he said his goal with his viewers is he wants his viewers to be successful, and he wants his viewers to say, well, since I've been listening to Andrew Tate, my life has only got better. I've earning more money, gotten jacked or whatever. So like he wants to be a good influence on men. He wants men to take self-improvement. Oh, that's a bit of a weird sort of phrase these days, but sometimes we can get too sort of self-improvementy, but sort of self-improvement in general, more seriously, and to care more about providing for a family and taking on the role, the masculine role of like providing for your family and protecting and that kind of stuff. And so that's very good. But obviously, obviously I have my disagreements, but like,
I think we all do with that.
We all do. Like, it's just I suppose another reason why he's controversial is because the disagreements are quite strong, because he doesn't, unlike most people, he doesn't kind of say, oh, this is my like opinion on what, like that sort of thing. He'll just say like, this is that. Yeah.
He has a way of saying things.
And then it's kind of like, if you disagree, then it's no, then you say like, no, it's not. So it's not like, oh, it's your opinion is that, my opinion is that, that's okay. He's like, it's this. Yeah. And like a lot of it's also like, especially when he talks about money and stuff, he makes it seem like the world revolves around him, and he makes it seem like he's the one you have to be like.
Yeah, he does make it seem like that.
And he does often say that like you can be happy without money, but the agenda he preaches is that basically if you broke, you're less of a human being.
I think he does that because first of all, I think he finds it slightly funny to make people annoyed. Imagine like you've got all this influence and all this reach, and you can just anger people a little bit by saying one or two little words. I don't know about how good of a person that makes me, but I'd find that pretty hilarious, actually.
Yeah. No, it is funny though, but also it's kind of like, if you think about it, if he didn't say those kind of things, he wouldn't have gone viral.
Yeah.
Because
true.
If he would have been more opinion based, then he would be someone like me who runs a podcast here. He's not gonna be the most searched person on Google. Like,
crazy thing.
Hey? You never know. Maybe I could be. Like, come on, guys. Like,
yeah.
Men drive cars better than women. There we go. I can be the most famous. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
Sure, that's atrocious.
Oh my goodness, the things we do for views. I'm kidding. But I mean, if you think about it, if he didn't say those like his opinions without wording them in the way that sounds outlandish, then he wouldn't have struck people's beliefs, and so triggered them to start sort of complaining about him and thinking, oh, this guy Andrew Tate. Who? Andrew Tate. Oh, Andrew Tate. Okay, let me see what he does. And then he spreads quickly.
Hey, I mean, whatever he's willing to live with. Yeah. I know for me, or you, like a person who wanted to start this kind of thing, like you specifically, maybe you probably wouldn't say that kind of stuff, even though you knew it would probably get you a little bit more views. Yeah. Because that's not the kind of person you want. Yeah. To be.
It's not the
image.
It's not the image I want to be. I honestly I just want to educate you guys. I want to educate, entertain. I just want to provide value to you guys. Not saying Andrew Tate doesn't do that. He does provide a lot of value for like men's motivation and stuff. But like, I just want to provide value to you guys and glorify God through that. That's pretty much my goal, is to is to provide value for others and glorify my creator in the process.
I mean, also to just like have some fun doing this kind of thing as well.
It's so much fun. Like,
Yeah.
to imagine, okay, I don't actually do it for a living because I don't earn anything from it yet. So subscribe, please. That would help. But like having conversations for a living. That would be sick.
Exactly. The next Joe Rogan kind of a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or hopes that might happen. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
Sure. Okay. I want to be remembered as a good person, or at the very least, a person who tried their best to be good. If that means that I've started a family and I'm a good father, good grandfather, whatever time I die, kind of a thing, then yeah, I'd be happy with that. If I don't start a family, I want to be remembered as a good role model for people, perhaps.
How so?
Well, I mean, we've all got young family members. We've all got friends with younger brothers, younger sisters, young kids. Just young people we've met in our lives. And you kind of feel this sense that I've learned a little bit of something. Maybe I can teach you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess as a good person, whatever that means in the situation.
So what would you, oh, the sun is perfectly reflecting on my white glossy floors onto my, oh, sorry guys, that looks a little bit obnoxious, but, anyway, sun is just, I've got like white glossy floors all over my whole room, guys, so just, yeah, that's why. But, what was I gonna, say, yeah, so what is your, when you say good person, what do you think of when you say good person?
I like that question.
Sorry, you can answer the question. I'm just going to close the curtain. It's really bright.
No worries, bro. I guess like someone who's really added to other people's lives, kind of a thing.
I see.
So whether it's I'm a father and I've made the life of my kids better, I've taught them things, or I don't have kids and I've just got a wife at that point, I've made her life better. Or if I don't have a wife and it's just a family, then I've made my parents' lives better, my brother's lives better, kind of a thing. Just adding to the world in a meaningful way, I guess.
I see. So if you would want to add value to people who are not in your family, what kind of value would you want to add?
Well, I guess it depends on my relation to them, my relationship with them. Like someone who's not in my family, say with a friend, for example. If that friend needs someone that they confide in, like someone they can talk to, then that's a value that I can add. If it's a friend that they perhaps want to learn more about something that I know of, then I can add value in that. I guess it depends on the person, the relationship.
I see.
Whatever that means.
Nice. Well, that's a good way to go about it. And just sort of.
It's not a cookie cutter answer.
Yeah, it's kind of like a whatever they need kind of thing, which is a good answer because. But yeah, when you, I guess I'd like drill this down a little bit more. When you say like you want to. In general, for like being known as a good person, what aspect would have contributed to that being good? Like what would the good be?
A person with a strong moral compass. I think that's probably the main one. Someone with good virtues, good character traits, good attributes, let's say. And whatever that means to the specific attribute, depending on how it's expressed with people or the attribute in its nature itself. I guess just having good things for yourself and possibly expressing them where it makes sense.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
And to go back to training questions, is where do you see where do you think the future of your training is going, and where do you see yourself like in the future?
I like that one. I was just chatting to my girlfriend about this a week or two ago. We often chat about our futures in this way. We're kind of very
nice.
future-oriented people, which
I
is
like that.
reasonably unusual for,
I like that.
annoyingly.
Yeah, that is annoying.
Yeah, sure. More people need to think about where they're going. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Where am I going in fitness, kind of a thing. For my goal, it's kind of, if you could sum it up in 3 words, it's like big and dangerous. So you're a good fighter, the dangerous part. You got an ability to defend yourself and people you care about.
It's like a Bradley Martin that doesn't lie.
Yeah.
I see. The next Bradley Martin right here.
So if I'm pretty big and a pretty good fighter, that's probably a good baseline for myself, as well as some other little things. So for me, when I was younger, let's say a year ago, if you asked me this question, I'd just say, I want to be pretty big and pretty strong. Okay, well, I've changed that a lot. I want to be decently big, decently strong, pretty good fighter, some good mobility kind of stuff as well, to be able to use things in the real world and be better at fighting and lifting. And have some cool, interesting skills, physical skills that I've learned along the way.
Like what?
Like what?
Cool, interesting physical skills.
So
interesting statement.
the best way I can explain this is, like, if you're fighting, right? You're learning how to fight. You're learning mixed martial arts. There's always something new that you can learn. There's a new technique that you can learn, and the act of learning that technique itself is very enjoyable to me. And then practicing that technique and getting good at it is really, really enjoyable to me. And it spills over with the rest of like fitness kind of stuff. So things like maybe learning how to backflip, that could be cool.
I see.
Maybe being a decent rock climber. It's a very niche skill, but yeah, it sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah.
Being able to dive pretty well, like diving. It's an unusual skill that's not entirely related.
Next Sam Sulek right here.
Yeah. Just thinking about that.
Big guy diving.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to get enormous, because
functionality.
Yeah, it takes away from other things. So if you're like Chris Bumstead, for example, he's pretty big. They are bigger dudes, but he's like, in the grand scheme of things, he's enormous.
Yeah. Compared to average people.
Definitely. But if you wanted to, let's say, be a professional volleyball player, he'd absolutely suck.
Yeah.
He'd be horrible. He'd be way worse than the average person for the most part. So in some ways, being too focused on one thing takes away from other things.
Yeah.
But if you balance things just in the right way, everything adds up together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually interesting. I want to go back to the point where you said about volleyball. And this funny fact that I saw the other day is that bodybuilders, especially like bodybuilders like the higher level that are more impressive physique, whatever, will always sink in water.
Yeah.
Compared to everyone else, because
not enough air pockets in them.
No.
Not enough body fat, right?
Yeah, because the fact being, fat floats on water, and muscle's denser than water, so muscle sinks. So bodybuilders, when they especially when they're like in their prepping season, because they've got like hardly any fat, got so much muscle, they can fill their lungs with air and still just, which is really interesting. I'm not quite at that stage because I'm still like, I've been bulking for a while, so I've got a decent amount of fat laid around me that can kind of keep me afloat.
Something interesting that I learned a while ago was that chimpanzees, like the monkey, they sink in water and they cannot swim hilariously. So you'll often see in like chimp enclosures, they have like a little moat around it, like a castle moat, a little river of water around it, because they know that the chimpanzee can't swim through there to escape.
Wait, sorry, repeat that?
It's crazy, hey? So in a chimpanzee enclosure, they'll often have water on the outside of it, like a ditch of water.
Oh, so instead of like a wall or anything, they just
they have a wall as well, just to make sure the chimp doesn't accidentally learn how to swim.
So they use like just a channel stream as a wall. pretty much.
as part of the wall. Yeah.
That's very interesting.
So it's hilarious because
That's
if you're like
hilarious.
running from a band of man-eating chimpanzees, just go for a swim. Which I find that too funny.
That's hilarious.
It really is just something
That's
else.
so odd.
Yeah.
Well, at least they know they can't swim. I'm half of my imagination of what he's saying is just like
Drowning
just,
chimps.
yeah, just run in water and just never come out again.
No, they can, like, you know, sort of swim, but they really don't like it because they know they suck at it.
I see.
It's like
I mean, I suppose that's
Yeah.
with every animal, pretty
Yeah.
much. That can't swim.
we have this weird evolutionary predisposition to not liking things we're not good at,
Yeah,
which
Ooh,
it's really helpful actually if you think about it.
it is very helpful.
So,
But like at the same time,
yeah.
it's not very helpful at all.
So
'Cause
some
when-
people hate swimming, right? It's because they suck at it. A good swimmer doesn't hate swimming. Like, you'll never ever find that in almost anything.
I love weightlifting. I'll say that. I love weightlifting because I'm so practiced at it, and that is a very interesting point that you just brought up, because like obviously that can be a good thing, but also can really be a bad thing, because then a lot of people will just stay at the place they are at because of this not wanting to do things you're not good at. And I feel like that was a struggle for me with all this online social media stuff. Starting everything new, changing what I do, going from educational content to workout vlogs to challenges to absolutely everything. And starting this podcast, I was very like nervous about starting this podcast because obviously I've never done it, I've never practiced, so it's kind of like it's new. So it was tricky to kind of get started, but
Yeah,
I'm
once
glad I
you're in
started
it.
it because it's really, I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really enjoy having people like you on, creating some fantastic conversation.
Yeah. Chats with the bros, you know?
Chats with the bros. Yeah, we have been going for an hour and a half.
Yeah, hour and a half almost.
So I've reached the end of my notes, but that's because I didn't have time to copy the notes from the PC, which was, by the way, for those who are watching, I came home and at about just after 2:30ish, right? And 3:30 is when this was going to begin and when he was going to arrive and anything. And so basically, I had to make my post-gym meal and everything. Came back, I also had a shower. I came back and I realized that I accidentally, because I have two Instagram, okay, I have more than two, but two sort of that I actually use. It's my fitness account and my account for this podcast. And I upload like almost 5 reels a day to my podcast account. And
Crazy.
and I'm often on my fitness account just to like update people about the podcast or whatever. And I accidentally uploaded 2 pieces of short form content onto my fitness account. So I was like, okay, let me delete this. And then I realized one of them didn't have subtitles. So I kind of had to sort of recreate a reel in the scram of things. And then I just finished and he had arrived and I didn't finish putting all the notes on my phone. So we were a little bit short on notes. But I managed to scram the rest of the setup together. But there was actually a very, very hilarious. And on my Instagram, by the way, go follow my personal Instagram as well as the podcast, because I got some question inputs for this podcast through some of the Instagram requests. So let me just go back and see. There was one hilarious one that I actually didn't actually write down because I thought I may not use it, but I guess I'll use it now.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that would be.
If we finish that up, I definitely will ask you 1 or 2 questions as well.
Oh wait, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've got some interesting. Yeah, I want to see what's happening with a couple of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually had to repost this on my story. This is hilarious. Have you ever farted in the gym while like deadlifting or something?
Have I?
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's scary because you
It's
got
like
your
when
headphones
you do
in,
it, it's like ah. It's like
yeah. Yeah, of course, bro. All the homies fight while they deadlift.
yeah. In fact, another random, slightly gross point is that if I I know when I'm training abs. When I'm training abs well, if I pee in my pants, then I know I'm training my abs well. I get to the point that I train abs so hard that, especially when it comes to like in the gym, not necessarily like home ab workouts, because they're different. Like the body weight, kind of like lying on the floor, body weight kind of stuff doesn't.
It's different, yeah, very
it's different.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to like leg raises and stuff at the gym, I know that if I pee in my pants, then I'm training hard enough. And it's really annoying because
Outrageous.
I know if I don't pee in my pants, I'm not training hard enough. So it's just a random point at there. But like it's annoying though, because like if I don't get to that point, then I don't train hard enough.
I'm sure that has something to do with like relaxing and contracting your deep muscles in your pelvis.
It's mainly when I do like not hanging leg raises, but when you take like the dipping bars, then you do like when you raise your knees to your chest. That's when it happens the most.
Outrageous.
Let's see. Okay, the other two I actually added on here, but I suppose you could in the meanwhile, while I look for the others, you can bam out a question or just start rambling on about a point.
Okay. Well, have you ever thought about dipping your toes into fighting?
Yes.
Yes. Thought so.
I really do think so. Like if I had, I don't earn anything right now because I'm putting all my time and effort into this and I'm not getting anything from it. So if I had
Not yet.
So if I had like extra income or whatever and I could afford like boxing training, I would definitely go into it.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of boxing. I don't know why. Just like
it's something special, hey?
I think something about being a man, just the sort of boxing, just sort of really like every man has a stage in his life where he considers boxing, I reckon. Like,
or at least some
just
kind of
natural.
fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, or some kind of fighting.
Yeah.
But like boxing is the very common one where it's like you just want to sort of mash, punch, that kind of stuff. So I have, yes, and I would absolutely love to in the future, especially if I have time, to train both weightlifting and boxing every day. That would be sick because then I don't have to worry about cardio because boxing is
you will have a cardio after that. Hey?
Boxing is cardio and a half. Like the last time I did boxing for cardio, I was like 5 minutes in. I was like, I just couldn't do it anymore. It is so taxing for someone, especially someone who's a bodybuilder.
Yes.
Because my goodness,
Correct.
I've got weight to move around, bro. And so when I'm like trying to like stay like mobile, and like hopping around, and like Andrew Tate says, staying on the fronts of your feet and not the heels so that you can stay more like mobile. Yeah, it cooks you, hey?
Sure. Wait until you get into like kickboxing or MMA and wrestling. Yeah, it's one thing only using your upper body for the most part, using your core.
Yeah, that's why I only want to do boxing and not kickboxing or anything, because that's a whole different.
Sure. Like, let's say we do rounds on pads or bags. It's basically the same cardio wise. If you start adding in kicks and stuff, it's like twice as bad.
Yeah, no,
easily.
I can imagine.
And then if you're sparring with people and you add in takedowns, then it's like 3 times as bad. And it keeps like adding up. That's why there's like 12 rounds of boxing and there's like a maximum like 5 rounds of MMA.
Yeah.
Yeah. But sure, hey, when I got back into fighting, a big shock for me was how inefficient my muscles were. Like I could hit pretty hard. Yeah. I still had some pretty good technique.
Like you had the power because you strength training, but like...
Yeah. But sure, using your body in an efficient way while still hitting hard is such a unique skill. Yeah. And it's not something you can like do mentally either. It's an entirely physical motor skill that your body needs to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say for a lot of bodybuilders, another reason why they would struggle with fighting is because we used to putting like all of our effort into a short little set. And so with like something like boxing, we would put all our effort into like one punch, then we'll be exhausted for the rest of the round because we used to having that short explosive, put absolutely everything into this so it can trigger as much hypertrophy and muscle growth as possible. So
yeah, that's pretty rare in in combat sports actually to put all of your effort into
opposite.
one thing ever, for the most part. Like if you're sparring, or probably more realistically, if you're in your fights, unless you've got an absolutely clear opening, you're probably not going to put full force into things. Especially because putting full force into things usually leaves you pretty open yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a common theme with bodybuilders sparring. So I'll spar like a really big dude, big strong dude, and even though we go light during sparring, they're still swinging, like inefficiently swinging. They're leaving themselves open because they're so focused on doing damage.
Yeah.
But when you become a good fighter, you start to focus on the opposite, less about doing damage and actually more about limiting damage to you as much as possible while still doing a bit of damage.
Yeah. It's a very interesting topic.
Yeah, I'd love to actually do a little sparring session with you one day, actually.
Yeah,
teach you a
bro, I
couple
would be
of
keen,
things.
to be honest. Like, I'd love to just punch you in the face.
Now we'll have on headgear, gum guards, and that'll be good.
Oh wait, that would be sick, bro.
Yeah, bro. Hey, who knows? Maybe you'll absolutely love it.
Oh, bro.
And you can figure out a way to get out there.
Yeah, 100%. This morning, I just took ChatGPT off my home screen. And so now I'm struggling to find it. Hey, there we go. I had a backlog because I had a very interesting prompt that actually caused a decent response. So I'm just trying to find the good ones that I didn't manage to. Is it morally acceptable to eat meat? I suppose we already covered that. Yeah, we already covered that.
Let's just shoot some stuff from here, bro.
It is
Have some
morally
faith.
acceptable to eat meat.
Yeah.
We're just going to stop it at that. It's just, it is, okay, ladies and gentlemen, eat meat. It's good for you.
Yeah. Actually, that reminds me about me doing a little bit of boxing with Joe. Since our past conversation not too long ago, I did a little bit of boxing training with the big dude, and it's so interesting to see. Like, he's still pretty flexible, he's got long reach, he's quite athletic still.
Long reach.
Yeah,
Jesus, that guy's
good gracious me. And you'll see like potential there, definitely, but then you'll also see the bad habits. Like Joe did really well, actually, not knocking the dude. Love you, Joe, bro. But seeing like the bad habits of lifting, like where you put your body position to try and generate more force, it's so interesting to me, actually.
Yeah. I mean, backing off that point, because like you're so experienced and you find those things, like it's like, well, you know, like it's like just stand right, you know.
Yeah.
The other day, actually yesterday, I had in the changing room. I can't remember what it was, but I actually, I just because I was with another friend. I was with Landon in the changing room.
Yeah.
And there were these two guys that started like talking about something about muscle growth, but they said the most absolute basic knowledge about muscle growth, and they were like actually thinking and starting to debate about it, and it was so hilarious. Not because I'm laughing at them because they don't know about everything, but it's to think about the fact that I used to be at that stage where like I didn't know what all the stuff was, and it's so like foreign to me that I ever used to be there, because I've been like putting most of my effort into like training for like over 2 years, and I've never taken a break. And so it's like, to me, it's become like life with all this knowledge about training and everything, that it's so weird to hear at the gym, especially to hear. I mean, if my mom says something like that, I'll just be like, oh, mom, no, you know, obviously. But like at the gym changing room, like it was so I wish I could remember what he said. I really do wish I could remember what he said. But like, it was so funny because it was so, I think it was something got to do with like protein building muscle. And it is like, because obviously,
I've heard a lot
like,
of those conversations.
I mean, I could be butchering it quite a lot, but
like, is protein steroids kind of a thing? Sure.
It was so funny because what he was saying was just like clearly like, yeah, but like it was so funny to me because it's like it's crazy how after so many years I've normalized things that normal people would think is really complicated.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah.
makes me so grateful for the position I'm in, where like I find complicated things to just be like, oh yeah, it's just that, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's something else to look back on when you're doing something for a very long time, is to realize that actually, yeah, you may not be happy with your progress right now, but listen, there's a lot of progress down the hatch you've already made that you don't even think of. Like, I mean, I'm already so grateful for the progress I've made. I've way surpassed my original goals because I wanted to get a bit big, and I've gotten big. So I've definitely surpassed those goals I originally created, and like I mean, I just train because I love training, first of all, and I second of all train to glorify my God. That's kind of the two reasons I still train. Maybe I'll compete in the future one day. Maybe I won't.
Maybe.
Who knows? Depending. It's just such a like a deficit on like work and everything. Because I mean, I've done it twice, and like, it's like cool. Life's good. Work, bodybuilding, and then you start prep, and then just work, just nothing. Especially school, because obviously I hated school so much with a passion. I thought it was just absolutely useless. Especially when like Andrew Tate started becoming a thing, and I realized he opened my eyes to how much school's a propaganda. Actually,
Okay.
I guess that's a conversation starter. What's your opinion on governmental education?
Well,
The education
governmental education. I didn't really have enough
like,
experience with that. I was a private school kid, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But sure, the kinds of stuff I've heard from just government schools, the outrageous things that the students do that they get away with, like smoking in the bathroom is entirely normal.
Oh yeah.
People together in the bathroom, entirely normal. Like massive fights, just crazy stuff that you'd in like private schools you'd never go like what
Yeah.
what is this?
It's so crazy.
But there is a lot of like, I know for certain teachers who have certain agendas, they definitely push views onto their students. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Especially like the bigger schools. Like the amount of crap that just gets pushed.
Yeah.
Into
Young students as well, hey? Not just like high school kids, like 7-8-year-olds.
You literally get like 5-year-old feminists these days.
Yeah.
That's very concerning.
Like people I found, like in my schools, it's a lot of like atheists. And I don't think people understand that even to be religious, it takes a lot of like mental capability to fully understand it and be religious. Like a 13-year-old is not going to understand religion in the same way that a 21-year-old is going to understand religion, like not even close.
Yeah.
And
well,
yeah, to say these things like you hate religion and you hate a certain religious group, it's like you don't even understand religion itself. How can you understand that you hate it?
Yeah. I mean, to go back on your point on like a 13-year-old knowing less than a 20-year-old on religion, what about 13-year-old me, for an example? I grew up in a Christian family my whole life, very strong Christians. And so like I was born into the Christian family, being a Christian my whole life. I was never like not a Christian and then I became a Christian. I mean, I've had my like rebellious phase where I mean, almost everyone has their rebellious phase where they're just kind of like, they're like, let's explore, you know, everything else.
Yeah.
But with that being said, do you think like a 13-year-old who is brought up in a Christian household, goes to church every Sunday, actually reads the Bible, would be more educated than a 20-year-old who like goes to church for the first time or whatever?
That's a very interesting question. I quite like that one. It's not nearly as simple as you think at first, now that I'm thinking about it. So there's a difference between religious education and spiritual moral education. So the 13-year-old has only had so many experiences in their life. Sure, they may be religiously intelligent, let's say. Like they know a lot about religion and know, oh, okay, this means this. Okay, yeah. I'm religious. they don't often entirely know why. It's more like oh, my family's religious and I grew up religious. But the 21-year-old, they've thought long and hard about morality and they've come to their own conclusions. And now they're finding that Christianity is right.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Kind
You're
of
right
a
about
thing.
that.
So maybe the 21-year-old doesn't understand scripture nearly as well as the 13-year-old, but they understand certain parts like why people are even religious and are probably stronger in their faith than the 13-year-old, actually.
100%, yeah. No, I completely agree because, I mean, a 20-year-old would have much more, like you said, like finding God and realizing, actually, like this is something I want to do. Like I want to worship God because I realize that He is like it's more like you said, like a 13-year-old goes around more like, oh, my family's Christian, so I'm a Christian, and so they don't really.
Is that really religious?
It's kind of, is it really religious? Good point. It's kind of really, I wouldn't want to say forced on them, but it pretty much is because
it's indoctrination in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like we're both Christians. We think that Christianity is right, and we think that everything else is wrong, basically. So even if you're pushing your kid in a weird way towards Christianity, you're pushing them on the right direction, even if they haven't chosen it themselves. Whether or not you should or shouldn't do that is kind of a whole nother conversation. I don't even know what I think on that yet.
Yeah.
But it's a very different way to approach religion. The 21-year-old and the 13-year-old examples.
Yeah, I do think that it is very healthy for a family to push, not to push, but like to really encourage their kids on being religious, even if they don't really understand it, because if they don't, then they're gonna experiment with everything, and then they're gonna, well, not experiment with everything as in like go into religious, but they have, if you don't follow religion, you have like almost no barriers.
You definitely can.
Like sin, so
you can. Yeah, it gets very complicated. We learn about this a lot in philosophy. So the way I think of it is, if you grow up Christian, let's say, and you understand what sins and sins entail, what they are and what they aren't, how much of something is a sin, let's say, then you have a pretty good framework of how to go through life. Yeah, that's the part I really do like about raising your kids Christian. But you also probably don't have the same understanding and love for religion that someone who's discovered it later in life has. Yeah, 100%. Or at least not at that point. You might grow up religious and then just keep getting stronger and stronger in your faith, which a lot of people do. But often you'll find the most intensely religious people did not grow up religious at all.
Yeah, literally. Crazy, like if you go to church and you hear the story from the person who preaches, if it's an old guy, I guarantee you he used to be like a drug addict, and then he he came to know the Lord through some like radical event where some miracle just happened, which obviously, I mean, I'm not saying those miracles can't happen to us Christians, but a lot of us Christians don't need those miracles because we've grown up. Oh, my battery's about to die, but don't worry, I have a second one. Actually, I'm going to quickly change the battery. No worries. So just keep talking about how. What was the?
No, I got it, bro.
You got it? Okay,
I got it. I'll take care of you guys. Don't worry. Well, I guess if you're listening to this, maybe I think everyone should think a little bit more about, if you're going to have kids, how would you raise them? How would you raise them religiously, not religiously? What would you allow? What could you allow kids to explore? Would you allow any exploration? Would you encourage kids to come with you to church when they're young, but to go, okay, guys, if you don't want to come, you don't want to come.
Yeah.
Or would you say, okay, guys, we're going to church. This is a Christian family, and we're going to go to church. When you're older, you can make your own beliefs. Yeah. So it really, I guess it depends on the family and how you want to approach your kids' faith. And if you want to approach it all, if you want to just go, I'm Christian, you're someone else, you can be Christian with me if you want, you can do your own thing, I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely encourage the idea of exploring into Christianity, and instead of, where was I going with this?
Being forced into it.
Yeah, instead of being forced into it. Because, I mean, another point to add on to what I think the difference, back to the 13-year-old and the 20-year-old. The 20-year-old recently became a Christian, and the 13-year-old grew up a Christian. I think the 13-year-old would be religious. The 20-year-old would have a relationship with God.
Correct. That is probably the most simple way to say it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For me personally, I obviously grew up in a Christian household, as I said, and I grew up being like a Christian, having to like read the Bible and all that stuff. I never felt like I had a relationship with God. It felt more like a religion, because it was, I did have the choice, obviously, because my parents were loving parents. They gave me the choice. But they just really encouraged or whatever. But I didn't want to like be rebellious or anything. So I was just like, so I just kind of, I was a Christian, but I didn't have like passionate love for God. And I feel like over time, with where I went through my slight little bit of rebellious stage, and now that I'm going through my most passionate stage of religion, I've changed from religion to relationship with God. And I feel like that is the key with, I feel like that's religion at its finest, is not actually being religious. It's being in a relationship with God. And I feel like that's so much more valuable than being religious. Because religious is more, I would say it's more kind of doing it. But relationship is obviously, if you're in a relationship with God, you understand his position, so you try to glorify
understanding
his works. And therefore you would do what a religious person tries to do without really thinking about it, because you're trying to glorify God, so that becomes something you do, and you don't have to try and force it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, correct. I think there's a very much big difference. You're entirely right. The 20-year-old, if you ask them to explain why they're religious, they'll probably give you a pretty systematic tale of why they're religious, whether it's miracles in their lives, or they discovered, hold on, this makes the most sense to me intuitively, or this makes the most sense logically, even like from a logical perspective, definitely. But if you ask like the 13-year-old, they've grown up religious their whole lives, they just say, I just am. It's a different faith. God gave us choice. We need to use that choice.
Yeah, that is a very, very good point. I mean, God loves us, and that is why he gave us a choice, because, and a lot of people will argue, like, why would he let us do all these sins if he's such a loving God? And the answer to that is because he loves us, and love means option. And so what I like to compare it to is, if your child, right, is doing, if your child really, where was I going with this? I forgot the example. No,
you want me to pick up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I feel like you're catching the
entirely,
the flow.
But I think very similar to you on this. So if you have a child, let's say, and they're wanting, let's say they're a 15, 16-year-old boy, and they see all these girls, they think to themselves, the kid thinks to themselves, oh, yeah, I'm going to get to know her. Oh, yeah, she's hot. I'll go kiss with her. I'm going to go back to her house. Yeah, sure. You have to, as a father, kind of say, I don't think that's right, but you're your own person. I love you, and I love you means that I'm going to give you the freedom that you deserve. It often works a lot better with raising kids than saying, no, you can't do it, because then they'll just do it later, or they'll sneak behind your back, kind of a thing. And that's one of the reasons why I think God is called the Father.
Yeah.
He's a parent that loves us unconditionally. He loves us so unconditionally that he gives us the choice to do whatever we'd like, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And a lot of people will do the wrong thing, and he still loves us.
Yeah.
But he won't. He loves us, but he will have lost respect.
Yeah. I get what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people ask if they're pretty strong atheists, or they're like in their 20s and they've thought a lot about religion, but they became atheist. They'll ask, well, why can't you live a sinful life until the day you die, but on your deathbed you go, oh, I love you, God, please accept me, I've done everything. Yeah, kind of a thing. And I think to myself, and I've listened to a lot of these clips, I kind of form my opinion on that.
From the whatever podcast.
Yeah, just all kinds
Yeah,
of interesting
cursed.
little spots from the internet. It's not just one view. It's kind of like, in order to be considered religious, you don't just need to believe in something. You don't just need to understand something. You need to show that you believe in it. If you're a Christian person, you have to make an effort at least to live a Christian lifestyle, to live a non-sinful lifestyle. So as a Christian, how can you, let's say you take drugs and you sleep around and you lie to people, you cheat people, you steal things, you murder people. How can you be Christian and have this massive disconnect in your actions that show that you're the complete opposite?
Yeah, and I think that's because it's not a like a thing of, oh, like God loves me either way.
Yeah.
And I think that mindset of like what you just said, doing all the unethical stuff would just show that you don't love God back.
Exactly. You're throwing his love away, effectively.
Exactly. You're throwing his love away, which means that you actually aren't a Christian, because a Christian, again, like I said, isn't a religion, it's a relationship with God. So
correct.
If you're not going to do something that someone you hate tells you to do. So
hey,
you're
exactly.
not going to do what your enemy tells you to do.
Correct.
And so if God in your mind is the enemy, and God has spoken through everyone who wrote the Bible, then you are essentially saying God is your enemy.
Yeah. You're disrespecting his love, because you're going, oh, you'll probably accept me. I can do all this stuff, get away with it, have all the positives. But you'll still accept me. Hey, look at this. I'm so clever.
Cheat the system.
Yep. But I'm sure a lot of souls have found out that doesn't really work.
Yeah, that's the bad thing, is that
Yeah.
It's not that everyone who does that thinks they get away with it, but like
do they?
At some point, it really hits them back in the face.
It can't possibly, to the people that have died, they can't possibly have gotten away with that.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about.
Oh, I like this podcast, actually. It's kind of got some spice from different corners.
Yeah.
It's not just
I thought
fitness.
it was a good idea for this podcast to, instead of like the last podcast just to be about fitness, is to branch into other things. And I think that's a good idea, because this created a lot longer of a conversation, where I feel like fitness is very sort of like, okay, not very, but it's more like bordered. Like a conversation can't last as long as something like religion. Religious conversations can go on forever, like morals and everything. And
religion's often a bigger part of people's lives than fitness.
Yeah.
If you're religious and into fitness. So I think it's a wise decision. Most definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I must say, when it comes to being a Christian, and back to what we were saying when between the 20-year-old and 13-year-old. I've obviously, like I said, I've been a Christian my whole life, but more recently, over the past couple of months, I've really come to love the Lord, because I've realized that God's not like this mystical being that you'll see one day when you die. He's one that you can talk to through prayer, and I've gotten a lot of feedback indirectly from my prayers, and that's also what throws a lot of people off.
Always indirect, like guaranteed.
Like, in fact, I'm not joking. I was last night, by the way, guys. He messaged me, and we organized this podcast for him to be the guest. And I was trying to, since the beginning of the week, I had 3 guests lined up. First one said, I'm actually good friends with. Like, I chat to him often. I'll do workouts with him often. He said, no, sorry, I don't think I'll have time. Like, I've got like this sport practice and going into this year of uni. I don't know. And I mean, obviously that was just him saying no because he doesn't want to, because it's just
polite way to say it. Yeah.
Polite way to say it. And another guy was also like, no, because he has too much time. They all said like no. So I was stuck, and I was really thinking like, what the heck am I going to do? So I was spending a lot of time in prayer thinking what to do. Then I started thinking maybe I'll just like put the camera outside, and then I'll just start to kind of just talk about my experience with like worshiping God in the more recent weeks, like just to you guys. But then like I started thinking, okay, I'm going to have to set up a podcast, set up with myself. And I'm going to have a conversation with myself, which clearly doesn't work because I've made these videos where I try and talk to the camera and it sounds terrible. And then like, I'm not joking, like I was like starting to get like really confused or whatever. And then out of the middle of nowhere, this guy, I haven't gotten a conversation or a message from this guy in like months, like this whole year. Like since like maybe middle of last year was the last time like the message went. He randomly messages me and he was like, hey, cool video idea, bro. I think that's what you said.
I saw your video. I was like, okay,
about
that's interesting.
Like, cool video idea with the conversation. And I was like, that has to be God. Because, like, there's no way that it's too much of a coincidence to be just a coincidence. Like, that has to be God. Because, like, the fact that I was praying about, like, what I must do. And I really actually feel like through that, I feel like God is opened up this discussion to include religion. And because I feel like if I would have asked his other friends, because I don't think they're religious, and I think that was another thing from that God was wanting me to open up to, is including religion into this podcast. And I feel like because you messaged me out of the blue after like lots of prayer about the situation, and we just set it up the next day. Here we are on a Friday evening. You kindly set aside a few hours to this. Thank you very much. And yeah, I feel like God's just directed this into like a religious conversation. I mean, I didn't even know you were a Christian, to be honest. But like now that it's led to, because I mean, I obviously haven't spent that much time with you. Last time I saw you was like months ago at the gym. Yeah. But because you started doing all this fighting and stuff, you haven't been at the gym. So I haven't seen you in a while and haven't chatted to you in a while. But obviously we were just like gym friends. We never really went that deep into conversation.
We're good gym buddies there.
Yeah, we're good gym buddies.
Like an easy relationship.
So yeah, like I didn't know like if he was religious or not. So, but like I think God has just like perfectly just set up this podcast. Like, and like that's just another reason like why my love for God is so passionate, is because especially recently with such a unique path I'm taking when it comes to like future career choices / that's a kind of vibe. Like God is just putting things in my mind to think about. Like I'd never really thought about a podcast before, and then obviously I was spending a lot of time in prayer, not too much, but I was spending like at least like a couple minutes a day. And I just started to really think, like, start a podcast. And then I was like, maybe this is a thought from God. Like, maybe this is God telling me to start a podcast. And then I spent about a week just, like, trying to figure out and trying to pray and trying to figure out if this is from God. And then after a certain point, I realized I'm spending my time praying about it, thinking if it is the right choice, when what I am currently doing is not giving me anything in return, and I'm hating doing it. That I know I'll really enjoy, and I'm just waiting for him to say yes. And so I feel like at that moment, that was him saying yes by giving me that thought about actually starting this podcast. So obviously, my original goal was just to make it a fitness-based podcast because that's what I have a lot of knowledge about. But I feel like what God's doing and what he did the other day with trying to get me to come on podcast with you rather than my other friends that are most likely atheists, which is just kind of turned this podcast in such an interesting direction. And I think this is possibly God trying to reach out to one of you guys. So if this is, then let me know. If you want to, obviously no pressure, but send me a DM on Instagram if you need any help with anything.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy to pray for you. But that said, any prayer requests from anyone, you can send them over. I'll try, as long as this doesn't blow up and get like 1 million views or whatever, then I'll be able to get to all the comments and prayer requests, because I usually don't get many comments at all. So yeah, that being said, drop any prayer requests in the chat if you guys need some help with some stuff. But yeah, this is a very interesting, this went in a very interesting route. And so I kind of went a little bit off topic because I was originally going on to why I went on to loving the Lord so much, and now I've just realized that this could be because I'm impacting all the views, whatever. So I more recently, well, obviously I went through my rebellious stage, and then recently I've been extremely passionate with my love for the Lord. And with having those two different stages of life, the religious stage, the middle stage, the kid stage of just being like, oh, I'm a Christian because my parents are, and then being at the stage like I am now, the happiest I've ever been is now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have been through some extremely tough mentally times recently, but I've found that with my passion for the Lord, I've been the most happy through some of the most difficult times.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so obviously a lot of people get the misconception that, oh, you're a Christian, you're like God makes your life perfect, which is obviously completely untrue. No. But what he does is he gives you the comfort through the storm. Yeah. And so that is what I've been feeling recently, and that's why I love the Lord so much, is because I've been through some storms, and I've been very much all right. Like I've had, I'm always good. Like, I'm not going to lie. I try my hardest. Obviously, there's some sad days, but I'm still good. I'm just less good than other days, but I'm still good. That's a quote from Andrew Tate, actually. But anyway.
So, good quote there.
Good quote there, yeah. So, obviously, every time I greet someone, I've changed over the past couple months. Actually, past month or two, yeah. I've changed my greeting from when you say, hey, how are you? I'm good. How are you? And I'll say, I'm always good. Thank you. Because after my passion for the Lord, I feel like I'm quite always good, because I realize that God's in control. And if something happens, it happens for a reason. He's going to teach me a lesson, or he's going to provide something. Maybe that thing won't be necessarily what I want, but it's what I need. And so I know everything's going to happen. Everything I need is going to happen to me, even if I like it or not. Yeah. And that's...
We don't get to decide.
And so that... It just makes me really happy and comforted that God, does this, with so much love. It's crazy how he loves everyone so passionately, everyone. It's everyone. Crazy. How it's just mind-boggling, how there's this God that can just, I don't know. I'm just sorry. I'm going on a tangent now that I usually have in my little worship sessions in the morning. By the way, I started playing guitar just so I could, guitar leaning against the wall there in its bag, but just so I can worship more in the mornings, by myself, because I just really wanted to worship, because like I said, my passion for the Lord has grown so much because of how I've realized that being a Christian and living like a Christian, having a passionate faith in the Lord, gives me so much comfort. And so, go back to what I was originally saying about always being good, is that obviously I know no matter what happens, it's happening for a reason. And God has allowed it to happen to me, so it's either a lesson or, I mean, it'll always pretty much be a lesson if it's something difficult. So, I mean, I feel like no matter, because in the past, in my rebellious stage, I would always feel something off.
Yeah.
Like, I always felt a little bit depressed or something, and that's because, like, I would feel a little bit empty. And that's obviously that little spiritual part of our heart that needs to be filled a little. And we try to fill it with other things that just sort of... But when you try to fill it with other things, it's the same as drilling a hole in the bottom of a bucket.
Correct.
It just goes in and it goes out.
You're postponing the inevitable.
Exactly, you're postponing. And so ever since I feel like especially the past couple of weeks, like I've been so passionate. I've considered actually taking a break from this podcast and literally going into some cabin in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of nowhere, just to spend a week with God and just worshiping and stuff. But I mean, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, goodness me. I need to...
Hey, practice. This has been a lovely time, actually.
Yeah, bro. It's actually... How long has it been?
It's been over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours? Oh, where?
I think...
Do you want to head out?
Yeah, this might be a good time to end.
Oh, where? Well, this was a great podcast, bro.
Yeah.
I think we might have to have you on again.
Would you?
Yeah, I would have you on
Yeah.
again. If you'd be keen, that is. Shake on it.
Ah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that just, like, this went in such a good direction. So, I mean, obviously now that I kind of feel like God's wanting me to put this in the direction of fitness and religion.
Yeah, there's definitely a niche for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is.
And so I basically... Actually, I could start a whole discussion on how we can relate religion and fitness and how they go hand in hand. But again, that's going to sound... trailer for next episode. We go into how religion and fitness can tie into one another. Shameless promotion. But
lots of doors being opened.
Yeah, so now the thing is, I feel like God's taking this in a direction where he wants me to have the fitness and the religion in both, and like prioritize religion more to just kind of push his word. And I feel like that's been happening a lot, hey? Like on social media, there's a lot more...
Religious stuff
being posted.
Yes, intensely religious stuff. Like not even I guess I'd call it the baseline, okay guys, time to believe in God, we need a little bit more God. It's just like intensely conservative religious thought, which I'm really happy about. I'm quite conservative myself, so yeah. Hey, maybe you can add to it.
Yeah, I'd love to add to it. Like, especially, like, the amount of, like Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, or I don't know I don't have TikTok, but I'm sure it's TikTok as well.
Good choice.
Have you seen them when they're basically saying, like, Jesus is coming back because there's the amount of correlation with the Bible verses about things that'll happen before he comes back is happening now. Like, there was that one random river turning red that was in the scriptures about when his return, and like a few other stuff. So I mean, obviously some of it I think is a bit far-fetched and they're just trying to get views, but I feel like there's a lot of it where I feel like God's trying to... He's like, okay, hold up. I got to push my word out. So let me just use a bunch of people to try and push my word out. Because I've had a lot of Christian content on my feed. And I feel like also Alex Eubank. Have you noticed him these days? He started his 75-day hard series. And every single one of his videos, he has a little Bible study session that he films. And he like reads through the Bible, and then he like will have a little prayer on it, and then he'll try and explain that. And like, I feel like that's happening a lot on social media, and I feel like God's trying to push his word out more recently. So anyway, back to what I was originally saying. that I feel like God's trying to take this into the direction of religious and fitness, not just fitness. About having you on again is because I don't know any, like, not off the top of my head can I think of anyone really. So I might struggle to find some guests.
Hey,
you know?
we take it as it
But,
comes.
Yeah, I mean, definitely are people out there. So it's just, yeah, it's gonna be tricky trying to find guests who are, yeah, who are like really passionate for the Lord, but also like bodybuilding. Well, I suppose we could just go into like fitness in general. Yeah.
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 Think about it, bro.
Yeah, I'll think about it. Pray
Okay.
about it.
Awesome.
Okay. Yeah, bro. Well, that is episode 2 of the
Just
King of the
like
Jungle podcast. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you guys got some value. Once again, you can leave in the comments any prayer requests or anything. My Instagram's also in the description, so you can, if you want to privately message me there for any prayer requests or anything like that, or any help like fitness wise, any help with bodybuilding, then you can send me some stuff there. But yeah, do you want me to drop your socials? Do you have any like?
No, I'm not a social media dude.
Okay, no
Deleted
worries.
it.
Then it won't be in the description. So have you like deleted all your social medias? Oh, good stuff, bro. I back that. That's the one thing I regret about being a content creator.
Can you?
Is that I can't delete, like, especially Instagram. I want to delete Instagram, but I can't because like I just can't really do it because I'm having to have my platform reach, and same with YouTube. Like I'm just sort of getting rid of this so I can just get to work, but this is my work. So
yeah,
I got on such a tangent. I feel like I've tried to close this podcast like 3 times and like I just started tangent.
Clearly too good of a conversation.
I'm very much too good at a conversation. What can I say? God's just managed to find his way inside of this situation, and now he's just using my tongue. So
now you have inspiration for the next podcast.
Yeah, bro, this is great. This went so much better than I thought.
Yeah.
So
make some nice clips out of this.
I'm gonna make some good clips out of this.
Oh yeah.
Wow, yeah, I'm gonna be busy for the next week.
Awesome, bro.
Goodness gracious me.
Sure, this is a good generator for clips, actually. Podcasts are very good generators for clips.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. Shall we close this time?
I think we should.
Okay, we're going to close this time. Thanks for watching. Click the subscribe button. It really helps me out, please, because I'm trying to make this. If I could make preaching the word of God my living, that would mean so much.
It's possible.
So it's possible. So if you guys could subscribe, there will probably be like 100 views or whatever. And I guarantee you most of you guys aren't subscribed because that subscriber view whatever. Most of you guys probably unsubscribed. 76% or whatever. Probably higher. But yeah, so please subscribe. It'll help out a ton for me to take this further so I can actually do this and preach the word online. I'll try, but like for a while I actually kind of avoided it because I didn't feel qualified, but I kind of feel like I've got to the stage now where God's telling me, hey, just do it. Just do it. I need my word out there.
You're doing the rambling thing again.
I'm doing it again.
Outrageous.
Anyway, like the video. You've been this far out. Gabriel, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, my bro.
Awesome to be here, man. Awesome.
I appreciate I appreciate you just coming on. I mean,
yeah.
And last of all, I want to thank the Lord for everything he's done. Thank the Lord for you messaging me clearly wasn't just you. Like, it had to be a God speaking through you. So, yeah. I want to thank you for coming on. Thank you guys for watching. And thank God for making everything happen. Yeah. So, thanks guys for watching. And I'll see you next one. Peace. That's a weird outro.